when they were in a position to run to set up the pass and they were gaining 3 to 4 yards every run, it put Sanchez in an optimum position. Now that they're gaining more like 2.5 yards a carry, in this whole run, pass scheme that Schottenheimer's putting forth, these teams are just sitting back and waiting for it. There's no element of surprise whatsoever. Like you said, the Jets' defense actually kept them in the game against the Dolphins, and really gave them a chance up to the very end to pull out the win. Dolphins are equally as pathetic as the Jets, but right now, from a psychological standpoint, the Jets have to be as low as you could as low as any team in the history has ever felt 2 weeks after being 9-2 and battling for first place. And they come in against the Pittsburgh team. And I'm the first one. I hated the Jets against the against New England. It was my biggest release of my career with the 100-dime play. I'm the first one. I'm a Jet fan, but I'm the first one to say that the Jets don't deserve to be laying points and laying a lot of points against anyone. But as the underdog, as a 6-point underdog, my feelings start to change a little bit. And I do think that Pittsburgh undeniably has not been the same team since Ben Roethlisberger has come back. And I don't know what the reason is, but before he came in, the defense was playing like wild, ravenous dogs. And now they're kind of like sitting back, and teams are actually having success against them throwing the ball. And this is something new. Will the Jets come out of their slump and win this game? I don't think so. Can they cover the 6-point spread? I do think so.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a 3-point game one way or another. And I'll tell you what, I also lean a little toward the under in this game because, it's sitting right around 35.5, 36 points. It's going to be a cold, frigid day in Pittsburgh. You've got two, once again, very good defensive teams. I can easily see this being 16-13, yes. Or, I lean a little toward the Jets, but I can see the Steelers also winning at 20-7 with a dominating defensive effort. And just to go back on that point you made about defense, early this year on the show, I pointed out that, once Aaron Smith went down, their defensive end, early in the season, again, maybe a season-ending injury, they're holding out hope that he comes back. That defense changes because he's so big, he gets a natural rush and helps get to quarterbacks, but he's also a great run stopper, and we saw the same thing happen last year. I think it was the final 6 games of the season. When he was injured, he went out. The Steelers' defense, on paper, still looks good, but they're not the dominating defensive unit they were when Smith is in the lineup, and I think that has definitely hurt them.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely.
Hey, Jeff, thanks for giving us a call. We do appreciate it. Next, we're going to go back to John in Baltimore. We've got you back. How you doing, John? John, there you are, finally.
Hey, I know. Sorry, guys.
That's okay.
Oh, man, it's good to talk to you guys.
You've waited a very long time to ask us about this New Orleans-Baltimore game, so why don't you get to it?
Yes, please. I'm just trying to figure out if my Ravens are going to be the real deal here. I mean, I see the line dropping, and I see the way New Orleans is playing, and I'm a little bit uncomfortable even laying, what's it at now, 1.5?
Yeah, well, which Ravens team are you going to get? The one that opened up the 17-point lead in the first half against Houston on the road on Monday night, or you can get the one in the second half? They were gassed. Yeah. They couldn't stop Matt Schaub if your life depended on it. And I've said, and listen, I got to pat myself on the back here again, because I've told you guys many, many times that the Ravens defense, again, on paper, looks phenomenal. But this Ravens defense is just a shell of its dominating self from like 3-4 years ago. Those guys that are still there have aged, including Ray Lewis.
Correct.
They couldn't get any pass rush. They were winded. They were gassed. They couldn't stop Matt Schaub. It was a miracle. I mean, a miracle that they won the game, let alone cover on Monday night.
Well, if they think Matt Schaub was tough to deal with, wait till they get, a little taste of Drew Brees. Because if you don't rush this guy with your front four, not blitzing, because if you don't rush this guy with your front four, he's going to pick you apart. Now, if you blitz and bring the whole team, he's going to pick you apart. So you got some definite problems there. You've got to get some pressure on him, or you're going to have trouble all night long.
And I'll tell you what, this is a New Orleans team. It's hard to believe that the defending Super Bowl champions are like under the radar, but that's exactly what's happened. They have quietly put together a 6-game winning streak, and it all started after they lost to the Cleveland Browns. I mean, that's enough to wake anybody out from their winter's sleep, right?
And
they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they've rolled since.
And don't great teams peak at the right time? I mean, right now, New Orleans is just about to start to peak, and it's the perfect time to do that. And, I just think that, normally at this time, New Orleans is so far ahead of everyone that they have a tendency to lay back a little bit. But with them chasing the Falcons, I think it refocuses them, and I think you get a New Orleans team here that's focused and determined. They're finishing up their season. They're looking to make their push. Me and the entire public is probably in love with them at plus the 1.5 points. It'll be interesting to see how it winds up.
Right, and they've scored 30 or more in their last 5 games. But now, let me just give you the warning here. It's the marquee game on the board. It's going to have the sharpest line. We've talked about that in the past. It's the hardest game to win. The marquee games are always the hardest games to win. This game can go one way or another, and I think the line reflects it. I would like to see New Orleans win. I will not be putting my money on New Orleans to win this game. I think it has every bit of good of a chance to go over the total as well because, 43.5 points for these two teams. I just told you I'm not, the Ravens defense is just a shell of its former self. And the Saints defense, nothing special, guys. Joe Flacco will be able to attack this Saints defense. The question is, will the Ravens play 2 halves of good football? Can they finally get Ray Rice and the running backs back involved in the offense? It's almost like they've disappeared here as they become such a pass-oriented team. So I would probably lean a little toward the Saints, more toward the over, but a game that I just think there's so many better games today to bet on. This is not one, even though it's a premier game.
No value.
No, absolutely not at all. Thanks for giving us a call, John. Next, we're going to head back to the phones and pick up with Mike, who is calling us from Seattle. Wants to talk about the game at Quest Field between the Seahawks and the Falcons. Falcons, undeniably, a hot team. And, of course, they've got the lead in the NFC South over New Orleans, breathing right down their necks. But third straight road game for the Falcons, and I think 4th road game in 5 weeks. Which way do you like, Mike, in this one? You want to go with the Red Hot Falcons, or you want to take the Seahawks at home?
I'm liking Seattle at home. I think this is the week the Falcons have a little bit of a slip up here, 3rd in a row on the road. What are your thoughts on it? Do you think the the Seahawks stand a chance in this one?
Well, I don't know. Is Matt Hasselbeck going to throw 3 more or 4 more interceptions? That's the key here. I mean, you never know what you get with Seattle. I mean, they were pathetic last week in the 40-21 loss at San Francisco, a game that wasn't even close as the final score. And listen, you go back 2 weeks, and they beat Carolina at home, and it was a 31-17 final.
They were getting killed at half.
They were getting killed. Wasn't it 14-0 or 17-0 at halftime in that?
17-3.
Carolina. I mean, my God.
I would have liked to have been in the locker room and heard what was said to them at halftime to turn them around like that.
And that was a Carolina team that was not able to run the ball all season long, and they were just running wild against Seattle. Well, Michael Turner is just on a roll here for the Falcons. This is a very difficult game. Another one which, sometimes I think that you look at handicappers and you think they have the answer for every single game. Well, guys, we don't bet every single game. I don't release plays on every single game. And sometimes you just walk away from a game and your best bet is the one you don't play. And this is one of those games. I don't know. I don't know which way to go. I'd lean toward the Falcons because the Seattle defense, Seattle can't run the ball, and they don't put much of a pass rush. So Matt Ryan's going to have, another big game. But sooner or later, the Falcons, this road weariness, it's going to take its toll. And you're making the second worst trip in the NFL when you're going from Atlanta to Seattle and 4th road game in 5 weeks.
And I also think that the public has fallen in love with Atlanta over the last 6 weeks.
That Matty Ice thing.
And the bookmakers know it, and they're padding the points as much as they can get away with. What one caution I would throw out there to gamblers looking to bury the Falcons here is that Seattle, when they're coming off a loss, are very good at home. I think 4-2 this year, straight up and against the spread after a loss when they're returning home. So I would look to, consider that as well. But as I look at this line here and see this 45-point total, I think this is going to be nothing short of an air show. And I think that 45 points will come very quickly with these teams, and I would go over the 45 here.
Yeah, I can certainly see that, especially with the way both the Falcons and the Seahawks are scoring. I'm just quickly looking here. The Falcons have gone over in 5 of their last 7 games. And, you mentioned something about Pete Carroll's team, after a loss, and also at home this year. They're 4-2 straight up and against the spread. And Seattle's gone over the total in 6 straight games. So, and boy, you look at some of these point totals they've given up. 42 at home to Kansas City, 40 on the road to San Francisco, 41 at home against the New York Giants. So, yeah, I would say that would probably be, if you're going to be forcing a play on the game, you would go with the over. I would say that would be our recommended, not recommended play for this game. Hey, thanks for giving it. Oh, Mike, what was the other game you wanted to talk about?